Virginia is a divisive game. Some people loved it, others found it lacking. It holds that mixed rating on Steam. That generally turns people off. Even myself most of the time. But I still thought it looked interesting. And by the time I bought it, it was on sale for the equivalent of a single US dollar. So I thought, well, that's less than a butterscotch latte from Seattle Coffee Company, which is delicious. Hashtag not spons, hashtag could be spons. So why the hell not? Some things you should know before getting into this one, and if you want to go in blind, stop after this list. It's a narrative-driven exploration game, or as the kids would say, a walking sim. There is no spoken dialogue. The protagonist is a woman of color, and it only takes about 2 hours to complete. Oh, it's also Lynchian AF. That's all you need to know. You're free to go, but give this video a like first. Now, if you remember my Fury review from a couple of weeks back, I put in a jab at walking sims, and Dear Esther specifically. And while I still can't stand the overthought quasi-philosophical word wankery of a Chinese room game, I'm not diametrically opposed to walking sims in general. I mean, the Stanley Parable is great, as is Gone Home, and I hear great things about Tacoma, but I haven't tried that one yet. I'll also try to keep this spoiler-free, but no guarantees. But due to the narrative drive of the game, I will put up a spoiler alert if one comes up. This game did come out in late 2016, so I feel the statute of limitations still applies. It's the end of summer 1992. Lethal Weapon
3
and Sister Act were probably finishing their theatrical runs. Iron Maiden had just released Fear of the Dark and Elton John The One. Barney and Friends debuted on PBS. And Kurt Cobain was still alive. It was a strange time. You play as Anne Tarver, a freshly minted FBI special agent, sent with her newly assigned partner Maria Halperin to investigate the disappearance of a young boy named Lucas Fairfax in Kingdom, Virginia. Why the FBI gets involved, I'm not sure. It seems to be more of a local law enforcement issue, but I don't know. The thing is, you're not only there to investigate Lucas's disappearance, but Maria as well. You see, your superiors set you up as a sort of internal investigator, and they seemingly have reasons to mistrust Agent Halperin. I mean, she's already been moved to that cliched leaking basement office anyway. So, of course, Anne and Maria form a friendship which is eventually tested when things happen, and the whole investigation takes a supernatural turn. It's really hard to try and not spoil this. If you're thinking that reminds you a little bit of, well, the X-Files, you wouldn't be wrong. The creators have cited X-Files, Twin Peaks, and Silence of the Lambs as influences on the game. And of course Brendan Chung's 30 Flights of Loving, which again I haven't played, but everyone who has seems to like it, or at least accepts it as an important game. Now, I have no experience on Brendan Chung's work, but I'm sure there's tons of videos out there for you to watch. The story is told without dialogue, and I hate to use this term, but it is a brave choice, even though it was born from necessity. In an interview I read, the devs knew they didn't have the money or resources to add voice acting that would satisfy their creative vision for the narrative. So instead they decided to rely on exaggerated animations, editing tricks and camera angles to tell the story. It's hard to describe, but okay, look how this scene is composed. You can tell exactly what's going on, what the mood is, and why each character is present. The game also tends to switch between reality and dreams or visions at the drop of a hat. This can be jarring, but if you pay attention, you'll easily be able to pick out reality from the dream, which is very important later in the game. Also, I should have mentioned Variable State, the studio that made this game, is entirely virtual. The team members all work from home or the local Starbucks or whatever. Of course, I have to address the art style. At first, when these types of looking games came out, I was apprehensive. This whole new wave of indies going low poly, I mean, surely emulating arguably the worst part of 90s graphics, the switch to 3D, doesn't carry as much nostalgic weight as pixel art. Nobody looking back at PS1 era games thinks, wow, that holds up. So being the intrepid game overthinker that I am, please don't sue me, Bob, I love your work, I posit the following. Using low poly assets is a self-imposed challenge meant to hone other skills in the designer's arsenal. Virginia's style of low poly art is heightened and often looks breathtaking when the lighting hits it at just the right angle. The sunsets, the observatory, this spoilery mess of pixelation. It all looks great. Low poly through an HD filter and with a deft artistic hand can look striking. It also helps if there's none of that texture warping that plagued PS1 games. Look, this is a short video because, quite frankly, I just wanted more to bring your attention to this game. I want you to experience it for yourself. If you love Twin Peaks, if you dug X-Files, if you have like 2 hours to spare, play Virginia. I'm not saying you'll love it. In fact, you might hate it. But either way, it's worth the experience. And, you know, there just aren't that many games with female protagonists who are also women of color. And that'll just about wrap up this episode of Escape from Mount Backlog. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, notification bell icon. New video next week. Videos coming out on Wednesdays every week still. Check out the multiplayer. There'll be a card at the end of the video. And join us next week when I might just decide to upload at witching hour. Little tease. Bye!